Hello, welcome. Just getting started. Got Friday Night Live over here on YouTube. Feel free to ask any questions about the brain or anything weird, anything at all. Well, I suppose I should invite people. Hi, Doodle. What's up? You can come and you can come. You're invited, and you and you and you and you and you and you. Hello, welcome. Just talking about the brain today. Kind of tired. Had a long week. Very busy. If you care to, come follow me on YouTube. Come subscribe. You can ask me questions here too. What is everybody up to? Hello. Hi. Oh, Mom's here. I've been working very hard. Yeah, this week. It's been nuts. It's been so crazy. Oh, but I love my job. It's a good job. If not, uh, hi. Hi, Shanti. What's up? How are you? I think this is the first time you've come to one of my lives. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hi, Mom. Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm also live on YouTube talking about the brain. You're welcome to come subscribe to my channel. You'd be helping me out. Trying to build a bigger fan base over here so that I can eventually monetize. I am picking up some viewer hours, though, I see, which is cool. I got to make some more content and throw it up here. I've been so far just putting my stuff on TikTok. Yeah. Hello. Everybody's here. Hello, hello, hello. What do you think you'll make a video about next on YouTube? Well, let's see. So one thing been making on TikTok were videos of different like strange neural disorders that people can have. And so I think I'm going to make a video on YouTube that is a compilation of all the ones that I've covered on TikTok so far. I'll probably do that as a series because there's plenty more to talk about, but I'll have to gradually add to that. I think I'm going to edit these lives too, make them a little bit more entertaining, and then kind of put those up as their own videos so people can go back and rewatch them because they've been pretty cool. Let's see, what else? I do have some stuff that is like the latest technology in neuroscience that I'd like to make videos about. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably end up doing that when we get done here, depending on how tired I am. I'm very tired. I did not get my old man nap today, so yep, so there's that. I got to finish this video I was making about Santiago Ramon y Cajal, which I totally spaced over the last week because I've been just so busy with work. Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Stealing Breath, that's a really good name for you. I like that. Pulled an all dayer several times this week. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I've been at work like nonstop, other than today for a quick doctor's appointment. Hello. What's up, not to be one? How are you? It's good to see you. Yeah. We're just getting started. Talking about what am I making? What am I making for YouTube? I thought I wanted this coffee, but it just tastes bad. I don't think it's my thing right now. Good, good. Yeah, ask questions about the brain or whatever. We can kind of just bullshit about Who cares? We're here to do whatever, have fun, you know. Yeah, yeah. It's been a long week. I feel really grateful for my job. I love this job, but holy cow, it takes a lot out of you mentally. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah. So if anybody's new here, I'm on YouTube. Come subscribe if you want to. I could use more viewership. Just getting started. I need more followers, more subscribers. Not to be one. What have you been up to? And how's everybody else doing? Making YouTube videos is a huge project. I am doing it all myself. Yeah. Kind of. I have like a small team of people that kind of help me learn some things along the way. But basically, yeah, I'm doing everything kind of by myself. It's been fun, but it is a lot of work. It's very difficult to do. So it's sort of slow going. Eventually, if I can monetize, I think I'd like to pay some people to help me out. Probably be the way to go. But, I need 1,000 subscribers, and right now I'm at 30 maybe. I'm not even sure. Might be 29. I have no idea actually. But if you come over to YouTube and watch the live from over here, you'd be helping me out because you're getting me my viewer hours. I need to have 4,000 viewer hours. Been working and trying to make TikToks. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to work and create. That's what I'm learning. I kind of have to pick one or the other. It's like I don't pick one or the other. I work no matter what, but I kind of only get to create every other week. I'm feeling. Yeah, come find me right there, Neural Jack. It's a picture of a brain, kind of like a neon sign. Yeah, you can if you want to. You don't have to. I'm not trying to force anybody over here. Just trying to get a little more activity going. But do whatever you like. You can hang out here at here over in TikTok if you want. Also, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's see. What do we got? Been doing a lot of research on the brain and weird disorders. Maybe we can talk about some of these. Hi, Melissa. How are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for popping over. Let's see. Where did I put that? I've got it here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it feels like it's been a while since I've looked at any of this. Oops, I don't need that. You're here. Hi, babe. Hello, welcome. Welcome. Hi. Oh, people are like starting to funnel in. Come find me on YouTube talking about the brain. Yes, it does help. It helps a lot, actually. You have no idea. Thank you. Thanks for coming over here. Because yeah, this when people watch my live from YouTube, that goes towards my hours, my public viewing hours, and I need those. I need a lot of them. I need 4,000, and I'm at 74. I don't know, somewhere around that. Can I fix your brain? I don't know. Can you send it to me? I'll try. I don't know what tools I have. How do you need it fixed? You like the talks? Good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And also, Harm's there with you in the chat. So keep each other company. Yeah, let's see. So I did a video on what is it called? Kagras syndrome. Everybody's like, not capgrass. Got it. Was that Chris? I think you said that. Yeah. Kagura syndrome is a very weird one. Yeah, the misidentification disorder, where people tend to think that someone close to them is an imposter. They've been replaced by a perfect and exact copy. Um, is sometimes called imposter syndrome, but should not be confused with actual imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when someone, despite all efforts or despite all contrary to that belief, believes that they do not belong where they're at because no matter how good they do at something, they believe themselves to be inadequate, which is an actual thing and is separate from this. Aw, thanks for the rose. Can you give some signs you can see in adults with ADHD? I heard a lot of people find out as adults, or is it ADD now? I'm still learning more about it. I'm not sure that we know what it is right now. I think we're kind of like trying to figure out what it is because, you know, um, thanks everybody who's showed up. Attention deficit disorder has evolved quite a bit over the last 100 years. Oh, if you've never listened to the podcast, what is it? Harmologies, I think it is. They just released part one and a part two that were really good about ADHD. So I would recommend you check them out. They're pretty long episodes, which is kind of ironic given that they're tailored for people with ADHD. But they're really good episodes, lots of good information on ADHD. But one thing you should know, I think another podcast, what was it? The Art of Manhood. I think they also had an ADHD episode recently, which was really good. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. But anyway, um, yeah, the concept of attention disorder has been a thing for a very long time, and nobody has been known. Let me see if I can type it into the chat here. I think this is how it's spelled with, yeah, with Ali Ward. Um, yeah. Uh, let's see. So they didn't know what caused it. They still don't really. A lot of people hypothesized at first that it was due to brain damage, and then it was found, and that's because people who have brain damage often exhibit. You're welcome. Often, or maybe that was for harm. Often exhibit symptoms of ADHD. Um, and then it was later found that you actually don't need an apparent example or an apparent cause for ADHD for the symptoms. You might just have it. So the reason that somebody with brain damage might have ADHD or symptoms like it is, especially if they hit their prefrontal cortex, if they hit like the front of their head really hard and do any damage along this region here, or even up front, they do tend to have problems like impulse control. They have problems focusing, paying attention. Stuff that's like typically common with ADHD. So for a long time, it was hypothesized, oh, maybe that's what the cause is. Then they found out, some people are just born and they start exhibiting this stuff early on. They have a hard time sitting still. They have a hard time paying attention for long periods of time. They're easily distracted. They have a hard time like staying focused on one thing. They often like to have a lot of different things going at once, um, which can be dangerous sometimes. Also, impulsive behaviors can be dangerous sometimes. And so I forget what all the names for this disorder were, but like it evolved over the last 100 years or so. Like I think it started in the late 1800s. Um, Thank you. I appreciate that. You are also loved and you matter, and I appreciate you. You're a good person. Um, that was really sweet. That's really nice to spread kindness and goodness in the world. We need more of that. I really appreciate you if you're still here. Uh, I don't know how to say your name. I'm just going to call you King. Um, Incidentally, my last name. So, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, got distracted. ADHD. I might have it. Harm makes me question myself every day. as did these podcast episodes. I'm going, oh, dude, I do this shit all the time. I might have ADHD. My sister for sure has it bad. She's got it bad. But um, yeah, so more recently, when we're able to actually like study the brain with better tools, we found that something that is apparent in many, many people with ADHD, something that's very common, is a lack of dopamine in certain areas of the brain, lack of excitement in dopaminergic neurons. And so it makes sense that um, this disorder can manifest in a number of different ways because dopamine or dopaminergic circuits perform a wide variety of things. How much of an attention deficit do you think is caused by things like TikTok and shorter and quicker rewards? That's a really good question. And before, I'd actually like to address that before I continue what I was saying. There is a way to sort of train yourself to have a worse attention span, and TikTok aims exactly at that. That is the purpose of TikTok and other apps like it. And so it's really funny to me when I see people who are coming on here and they're wising up to it, right? They're going, "Hey, how why do you think that the TikTok algorithm is pushing 7-second videos?" And it's because they really don't want you to pay attention. They want you to pay attention to very short things very quickly, and it's whatever they think will give you the most reward as quick as possible, right? Which is the best system. It's literally why we gamble, right? That's all casinos are meant to do. They're made to do that. How do we get you really excited for a very short amount of time, long enough to take your money before you realize we've taken it? Dopamine, very true. Yeah, no. So TikTok's not causing ADHD. In fact, who knows what's causing ADHD? Even a lack of dopamine might not cause ADHD. What it does is it provides you with symptoms, right? And if you have enough symptoms together, you may qualify for the disorder that we call attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is also why we have to sort of change the definition, or we've had to so many times and likely will change it again soon. Um, yeah. So hold on. Let me gather my thoughts for a sec. Yeah. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also currently as it stands, to my knowledge, you can sort of train yourself out of the symptoms, some of them, not all of them. But you can train yourself out of some of the symptoms well enough that you no longer meet the criteria for the diagnosis, right? Um, hey, what's up, big screen video? Very much feels like Vegas. Yes. Yeah, Vegas going on upstairs all the time. Absolutely. Ding ding, what's up? All the flashing lights. Yeah, definitely wouldn't help for sure. We should talk about this on a podcast or something. There are a lot of symptoms of ADHD that are less talked about. For sure, there's tons of symptoms. But the thing is, in order to meet the definition of a disorder, you have to meet the right symptoms for the right amount of time within the right time window for the right amount of time. And then, these symptoms can change. It's like, I forget what the ones specific to ADHD are. Maybe Harm can help out, or we could probably do a podcast about that. But they're like with every disorder, you have to have one or two symptoms, and then those one or two symptoms are accompanied by 3 or 5 out of 7 or 9 other symptoms, and then they all have to be present for this period of time. TikTok is well suited to people who have ADHD. Yeah, TikTok is definitely suited to people who have ADHD, but I can see how TikTok also trains the brains of people to sort of feel like they might have it. Yeah. I don't think you. I don't know. I don't know how to reply to people in YouTube. Stimulants help because they increase dopamine activity in the brain. Stimulants help some people because they increase dopamine activity in the brain. Not always. And also, that's another thing that we need to talk about. So, this is what I was going to talk about before. It's not always caused by a lack of dopamine. It can be. And it depends on where that lack of dopamine is happening in the system, right? Because, a lot of it has to do with reward processing. I think most people know that. Your sense of reward kind of comes from dopamine. What we're sort of learning now is it's actually less reward and it's more habit formation. So it makes sense that a lot of people with ADHD that stems from a lack of dopamine also have problems with paying attention and also have problems with organization, right? They lack the skills to plan because the part of their brain that is normally used to plan and form habits is disordered, right? And then you can also have movement disorders. Here's the thing: if it was a problem with dopamine, if that was it, it's just, oh, there's not enough dopamine, then there would be other things affected as well, right? One thing would be affected is your motor skills, and that is affected with people with ADHD. Sometimes they're hyperactive, hence that's part of the criteria. Although we're kind of changing that because not everybody with ADHD is hyperactive, even if they meet the criteria. So, and then we're like, oh, well, then they're ADD. Well, not necessarily either. So I don't know. There's still more to be known. But yes, stimulants help. They definitely help a great number of cases. The problem is that at some point they stop working. They tend to stop working. You have to switch them up and try different things. And sometimes they just stop working completely and nothing works. And then you still have to stay on them because if you don't, you rapidly gain weight. So there can be issues with medications. Yeah. ADHD is a hard thing to treat sometimes. Yes, true. Hi, Nelly. What's up? How are you? It's good to see you. Yeah, we're just talking about ADHD. Um, yeah, there are other people with dopaminergic problems, right? Uh, so one of your most like famous dopaminergic circuits is in the substantia nigra, which is Latin for black substance. It's these little regions in your brainstem that are responsible for your motor skills, specifically fine motor skills, but like any motor skills in general. And this circuitry is really important because I need to move when I intend to move, and I need to stop moving when I intend to stop moving, right? I move when I want to, and I stop when I want to. So there are two different circuits for this, both rely on dopamine. And one is the D1 pathway because it uses D1 receptors, and one's the D2 pathway because it uses D2 receptors. Same dopamine, different receptors, right? So different circuit. One of these pathways is excitatory, promote movement. The other one is inhibitory, stop movement, right? And these two things are combating with each other at all times. The fact that they're combating with each other allows me to do this, right? I can hold my hand open and hold it still. When I don't have the ability to do that, I start shaking, right? Or twitching and doing like weird movements. And this is something you see with Parkinson's because Parkinson's disease is effectively killing the neurons in the substantia nigra. And then you have troubles with both like trying to promote movement and trying to stop the movement. So then you just end up shaking, right? Caffeine. Yeah. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing? You're doing your hair and it's almost done. What are you doing to your hair? Is it nice? Yeah, come over to YouTube. Answering questions. Two friends with ADHD, and caffeine and stimulants make them sleepy. Yeah. Totally. I'm weird. Like I get sleepy with caffeine sometimes. Like I'm drinking this coffee and I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Sometimes it wires me too much though. I don't know. I actually might be one of those people who has ADHD as a result of brain damage. Because when I was very little, I had a severe traumatic brain injury. And it definitely impacted my uh, a lot of things, but definitely impacted my impulsivity, right? Like I was very impulsive as a little kid, and I was constantly putting myself in danger. Probably not fun to be around. Um, yeah. So the more I've learned about myself growing up with that kind of stuff, I learned how to kind of train myself out of it. And I think that's the difference between a ADHD that is acquired as opposed to ADHD that is genetic, because it very much is genetic for sure. I may also have a genetic variation of ADHD, given that my sister is highly ADHD. I don't know if she gets that from our mom's side or from her dad's side. If she gets it from her dad's side, then maybe I don't have it. Maybe mine's just acquired. But if she gets it from our mom, then I definitely probably have the genetic version. My computer's having a hard time. My other computer. Just washed and blow dried it. That's good. Yes, I'm proud of you too. Don't skip washing your hair. It's good for you. Coffee brings you joy. Good. Good. It brings a lot of people joy, or at least gets them through the day. Now's a bad time for coffee. Morning to night. Me too. I also have a weird issue with iron being like deposited um into my bloodstream, and so I think I naturally have an affinity for coffee because that kind of helps to stop you from absorbing so much iron. Hang on one sec. Sorry. Stupid computer. Sipping it right now. Good. Proud of you, Melissa. Yeah, ADHD is one of the, and then another problem with ADHD is we don't even know how to diagnose it necessarily. Like, I think we're just now refiguring out how to do that. Um, One of the problems is because of the evolution of ADHD, a lot of people didn't consider it a real disorder for a long time. And then um, when they finally took it seriously in the late 80s, early 90s, it became uh, sort of, let's see, how do I put that? Overdiagnosed, I guess is the right way to say it. And then all of a sudden, everything was ADHD, right? Especially for little boys. And based on what we know now, chances are that boys do have ADHD to a higher degree than girls do. Or rather, people who are assigned male at birth tend to have ADHD at higher rates than people assigned female at birth, right? Um, that still may be true, but also people who are assigned male at birth have a really hard time in educational environments, especially early on. People who are assigned female at birth tend to do better on average because they are able to sit and focus. They tend to have a better attention span, and and oftentimes have a little bit less energy, I guess, that they need to burn off so rapidly. And I think that has to do with the sexual dimorphism in physiologies. Um, but of course, that's the case for like the typical children. Not everybody fits in that category. But because of that, then there was this huge problem of overdiagnosing children with ADHD for a really long time. And the problem with that is that really screwed up our numbers. Now it's like, what do we trust, right? Because if everybody's just handing out Ritalin like candy, and they're saying it helps, right? And then it stops helping by the time they're like 25, 30, but they still have to keep taking it or they have issues with their health. Yes. Any hacks for organizing work? Let me think for a sec. Organizing work. It kind of depends. It depends on what works for you. A lot of people use journals. I use a journal. Some people need calendar apps. Something that really helped me, I had to like train this into myself. And I've had to do this multiple times throughout my life. But I break down my week, my whole week, Monday through Friday, or sometimes Sunday through Saturday. But if we're talking about work, the work week, right? Monday through Friday. And I say, okay, I get up at 6 a.m. and I go to bed at 10 p.m., right? Or 11 p.m. or whenever. And I guess now it's 11. It's when I usually go to bed. So it'll be like, okay, 6 a.m., 11 p.m. And then I break up each hour into quarter hours. And I say, what am I doing for this quarter hour? And the answer can be nothing, but I make sure that I'm aware of all of those time slots. And I think about, how long should it take me to brush my teeth? How long should it take me to, shave? Take a shower if I need to, that kind of thing. And then I start thinking about my work. What do I have to do for work? Do I have paperwork? My job doesn't usually have a lot of paperwork. Sometimes, like I do a lot of writing, right? Okay, let's reserve my morning block for writing between 10 and 12 or 9 and 12, right? This is or maybe 8 and 12. Everything should get done before 12 is my point. If you're going to write before 12. And then I look at how much available time I have. What do I have for appointments? Put all my appointments in, right? What do I have to do throughout the week? Okay, so moving around my appointments, put something here, 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 here. And, I end up seeing that I have just a ton of available time throughout the week that I don't realize I have because a lot of my time is actually wasted trying to figure out when I'm going to do something. So if I start the week off on a Sunday and just get that out of the way from the very get-go, right? What are my appointments? Do I have doctor's appointments? Do I have meetings with people? Do I have one-on-one time with my team? Is it my close team or my team as a whole? That happens bi-weekly. Get all that out of the way. Then what work do I have to do? How long is it going to take me to do it? And where can I fit it in? I do all that on Sunday and I can work my whole week. And believe it or not, I save a ton of time not trying to figure out when I'm going to figure out when I should be doing things. I don't know if that helps. I'm a tonic. Thanks. I appreciate you. That's very sweet of you to say that. Been told by people they think I have it, but I've never asked a doctor. I guess I think it's okay. I feel like I've gone this far. Melissa, if you think you have it, you should still go to a doctor and just ask for an assessment. And the reason why is because even if you're doing okay, if you could be doing better, you might want to, right? And that's not from any standpoint, like not from your boss's view, not from your parents' view, not from your partner's view, maybe a little bit, but it's from your point of view. If you can make your life easier to live in any way, why not? And especially as an adult, you figure out, oh, my brain doesn't work like these other brains. My brain works like this. Like if you're like me, I need to have TV going while I'm working. I need to have that because there's this little active dude running around in my brain and he needs something to pay attention to while I'm focusing, right? And if I don't know that about myself and I don't ever make that accommodation for myself, then I might not be doing as well as I'm doing. And I didn't for a lot of years. I did terribly in school uh, until I learned that I could draw, and then I started drawing all over my homework, and my homework would come back with like marks on it, like, "Hey, can you quit drawing all over your homework?" And but you would have gotten A if you hadn't drawn all over your homework, you know. But I learned that like by drawing, I'm focusing. Um, and another thing is that people with ADHD have atypical sleeping patterns. So we don't, I'm saying we as though I don't have a diagnosis for ADHD. I do happen to have a lot of symptoms that are in common with ADHD. One symptom I have that's in common, and I know that a lot of people who are diagnosed with ADHD do have, is that they have atypical sleeping patterns. So they tend to go to sleep a lot later in the night, usually around the hours of 2 or 3. They also tend to wake up. Sometimes people wake up very early, like I do. Other times people need to wake up at around 11 a.m., right? That's their sleep cycle. So, one thing that would help you if you have ADHD and that is your sleep cycle is to try to find a job where that cycle works for you. You don't have to be up at 6 a.m., right? And so, if you have that diagnosis, you can make those accommodations for yourself and you already know to look for them, is why. Yeah. Just makes life a little bit easier for you, which it should be. There should be accommodations for everybody who needs them. Inattentive ADHD versus hyperactive ADHD. Again, I'm not really sure because I think the definitions for things are changing. So I don't know. Maybe when Harmony and I go to do an episode, a podcast episode, maybe we can do that this weekend, actually. Um, Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. A week of schedule, then daily. Stay awake at nights, splitting time for each task. Yeah, that's basically what I would do too, for sure. Sometimes I would plan, actually, when I was in undergrad, I would plan out my entire semester over the course of like 2 days or 3 days. I would plan out my entire semester and then I just lived by it religiously day after day. Thank you. You were very sweet. I appreciate those words. Um, People with undiagnosed ADHD also, on average, have reduced lifespans. It's important to get the prescription if you can. Yeah, or the diagnosis if you can. Yeah, absolutely, they do. Which is another, but I mean, that depends, right? Because what is the symptom that we're talking about? Because like issues with impulsivity can definitely lead you to dying sooner. But also another thing to note, I don't know how true this is. Harm might need to look this up and just verify. But weirdly, something that took me by surprise is I think that it's people who are assigned female at birth who have ADHD that tend to die at higher rates, which is surprising to me because most of the time, people who are assigned male at birth die at higher rates, especially in adolescence, because they're very risk takey. um, but I had heard a statistic recently that stated that people who are assigned female at birth who have ADHD tend to die at higher rates earlier on. 2 a.m. Uh oh. Signs and symptoms. Also, where are you at, Nelly? Yeah. Yeah, Harm can talk about ADHD ad infinitum. She's lived with it for a very long time. She also did not realize until she was an adult. She got an adult diagnosis, which is true for a lot of millennials, it turns out. Yeah, it's something to take seriously. Don't be afraid, but be curious, right? Be interested. Maybe you don't have it. But if you do, it would be better to know that you do, right? Just like anything else. It's like, oh man, I don't want to go to the doctor. What if I find out I have cancer, right? Or something. Like, yeah, that's really scary. But at the same time, if I did have it, I would rather know that I have it than not, you know? Hi, Katie. High functioning ADD. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the sh- the one of the worst things about mental illness is that if we're really high functioning, then we are less likely to seek help. And we're more likely to, how do I say this? We're more likely to change our own behavior to accommodate other people to us rather than ask other people to change things to accommodate us to them. And that's very backwards from how things should work. Like, definitely, if you have mental illness, you should take the steps you need to take so that you can do better. But other people should make that more accessible to you, right? If you have a wheelchair and you need to get to work, there should be a ramp for you to get in the door rather than stairs, right? And that should be the case. Your work should provide you a ramp, as opposed to saying, no, you should get out of your chair, crawl up the stairs, and drag your chair along behind you, and then get back in your chair and roll your ass in the door, right? That's not how it works. And it shouldn't work that way. That's awful. It's a terrible system. Yes, Harm has a lot to say about this. Let's do a podcast episode this weekend. Um, that being the case, if you're really high functioning, people might just think you're a little weird. And that's fine. I guess maybe you'll have an easier time fitting in, maybe. But the problem is that, when you are in a situation where you need to be accommodated and you're not being accommodated, people are blaming you for your dysfunction, and it's not your fault. This is the most important thing about having a disorder. You need to realize this. If you have a disorder, it is not your fault that you have that disorder. And if you are making mistakes or something is happening due to your disordered nature, that's not your fault. And if people are blaming you for it, that is a shortcoming on their end of the street, not yours. A shortcoming on your end of the street is simply not being diagnosed and having suspicions but going untreated, right? You need to know as soon as possible because you need to get those accommodations and help as soon as possible if you can. And there's a whole lot to be said about whether or not you can even receive appropriate accommodation. I have yet to see even a single workplace give anybody adequate accommodation for anything, but they do like try to help, right? Yes, please do, Melissa. You're in Europe. What part of Europe? Diagnosed at 23. Yep. Oh, you're in Malta. Okay. Yeah. Cool. I'm glad you come to hang out with us. That's awesome. Sorry it's so late there. You should go to sleep if you need to. If you need to. Don't stay up on our account. Take good care of your health. Nice to know and get a plan for things. You'll be 40 next month. Yeah. 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 Some people don't ever get diagnosed. Until 6 a.m. That's not good for you. Or maybe it is. I don't know. As long as you can sleep through the day. Yeah. So, and then another thing is people who are high functioning. Here's another misconception is that people who are high functioning are seen as like more important in society. Like people with high functioning autism or people with high functioning ADHD. Because they're not afflicted as badly, they can generally operate within reason, right? And then it's sort of seen as they're not even disabled. Okay, then why even help them, right? The court very much sees things that way, right? Like it's anybody who's ever been on disability knows it's practically impossible to get on disability. And then once you're on it, it's impossible to work while you're on it. It's just not how things should work. People should get what they need, in accordance with what they need. That's it. You shouldn't be forced to live a life where you're barely scraping by until you decide that it's time for you to just work because it would be more worth it for you to just work and kill yourself. Functioning labels can be harmful, yeah. Sunny Spastic, what is up? It's good to see you. I hope you're good. Yeah, functioning labels are hard to deal with. Um, it's important to understand what it means and not to equate it with a person's worth. This is really what it is. And just because somebody is like high functioning does not mean that they should be required to be.
What we're saying is that that community rejects the use of labels at all for that because it's not accurate.
Yeah. Yes, we are too old for that, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think generally now it's kind of becoming more accepted that ADHD is, like many other things in nature, part of a spectrum, and that people actually just fall somewhere along that spectrum. It is Friday. We're here. Friday Night Live. Yeah, I think spectrums are a much better way of thinking about things for sure. Although I talked about something else spectrumy and I got kicked off of TikTok. I appealed to TikTok and they took me off my ban a day early. I don't know why I was banned in the first place. I wonder if I should just sit here and just say things that are normal and scientific and make sense and just like say them one at a time and then see which one gets me kicked off again. Let's not get into that again. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. TikTok's dumb. Watch, they're gonna ban me for saying that now. I did. I mean, there's nothing wrong with made up things. Made up things are still real, right? Race is a made up thing. It's still real. But the point is to understand it, understand the truth of it, like what it actually is. That's the point. Get out of here. I didn't even say it was made up. I said it was on a spectrum. A live where the guy was saying ADHD was not real and it's all a mindset. uh, well, I'm of the knowledge that what happens in the mind is a result of the brain. I just don't believe that. I feel it can be managed, possible, but not controlled. Again, that depends, right? That depends on what the cause is. If you know what the cause is, you're going to treat it a lot better. But the thing is most people don't know what the cause of their ADHD is. Most people can tell you if it's genetic or not, maybe. Actually, most people probably can't even do that. Some people can. And it depends on your symptoms. Some symptoms are treatable. Some are treatable with therapy. Some are treatable with medication. And generally, ones that are only treatable with medication tend to be more neurological and require the use of medication. Your ADHD sometimes helps you to be super efficient. Your crippling anxiety kicking in. That's true for me. I know I definitely get anxiety kicking in, and then I just I'm like, oh God, what have I done with my life? And then I spend 30 hours like Just working on as many things as I can. Get the whole house like cleaned. That wasn't the part that got me banned. What got me banned? Was it the comment about Alex Jones? That guy, jeez. It said hateful behavior. The only hateful thing I said was towards that guy, and honestly, he deserves it for real. He deserves all the things coming to him. A mix of genetics and trauma. Yeah, you make a really good point, Nelly, because everybody has their own genetic predispositions, right? Here's a really good disease model. I always forget the name of this model. Um, Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Trying to find. Oh, okay. I'm not going to be able to find it right now. I'm going to have to go look it up. Maybe Katie or Harm can find it. But essentially, it states, to get a mental disorder of whatever kind, you have a starting line and a finish line, and you have to make it all the way across that racetrack, right? And your starting line can be thought of as your genetics. So, you might be born with a starting line that's really close to the finish line. You might be born with a starting line that's really far away from the finish line. And then not only that, but also, much like a racer, right? How fast you run, how long your legs are, like different kinds of things are going to influence how quickly you can get across into that line, right? And then the idea is that so different things like socioeconomic status, race, um, whether or not your parents were married or divorced, or if you even had a single parent home, maybe you didn't have any of your parents at home. Different things like that can all influence it, right? You have all these sociological and economic stressors that impact you. And then not only are you genetically predisposed at some point, right? Your starting line shifts, but also you can have things that help to protect you, which will functionally shift the finish line away from you. So it's possible for you to have every genetic predisposition to become schizophrenic, but because of resilience characteristics, the finish line is so far away that you never get there, right? Which is true for most people, actually, because we all have the genetics for schizophrenia. If you didn't know that, now you do. So this model states that basically you can get right up to that finish line, and as long as you don't cross it, there is still hope for you to bring your symptoms back and control them. But for certain mental illness, such as schizophrenia especially, once you cross the line, you're done with the race. It's done. You have it. And there probably is no going back. Or going back would require almost an impossible significant effort. And so there are instances where plenty of people have a really long race to go to get to that disorder. And some of them will even backtrack and do better. Some people are born with the starting line right on top of the finish line, right? Basically, right out the gate, they have it, and that's it. And I think that's like a pretty good model to kind of like think about. Yeah. Why you have a 4.0. Good for you. You and your little brags. Yes, the way you're wired and the experiences you have. I think that well, let's see what hang on. Hyperfocus can be a blessing. So the thing about ADHD anxiety is it's different than other anxieties from what I'm understanding. So you can have regular anxiety on top of ADHD, which can give you anxiety later, right? But you also might have no anxiety and then have ADHD, and then later in life develop anxiety because of your ADHD. Because ADHD causes you to miss appointments that are very important. Oftentimes, you miss out on good grades. Not everybody is as good scholastically as Harmony tends to be. Um, a lot of people can't focus, can't pay attention. They get yelled at by their teachers. Other family members get frustrated with them. So, maybe early on it's not such a big deal, but like later in life, once you've gotten fired from enough jobs, missed enough doctor's appointments, missed other job opportunities, missed other education opportunities, right? And maybe even gotten in car accidents because you weren't paying attention while you were driving or things of that nature, right? Over enough time, you start to develop panic or anxiety because you are so uncertain of your conditions. And that is a really common thing that happens with people who have ADHD. I didn't know this was just going to be an ADHD episode. We definitely need to do a podcast on this. I want to know what got me banned. What was that? Also, they appealed it, so whatever it was, it must have been dumb. Hyperfocus turned inward definitely causes a lot of panic. Like panic disorder, that's like the definition of what's happening, right? You just like, I'm not sure what's happening, but I know I'm going to die about it. Am I feeling okay? Is my heart beating fast? For sure. Could be. Brain juices are weird. Your soup's all loose. Yeah, yeah. But hey, the Art of Manliness talked about this. Their one of their latest episodes is really good. If you haven't heard that podcast, it's really good. I don't know why they call it the Art of Manliness. You don't need to be manly to listen to it. It's just interesting topics. But I don't know. Maybe it's tailored to guys with weird egos. I don't know. I recently learned about it. And it's a good podcast. They have good speakers on there. But one gentleman who was just on there talked about habit formation, which is heavily tied to ADHD, right? And so he talked about how the anxiety that's associated with ADHD is a habit and it can be unlearned with work. And he has a whole book on it. But yeah, he's a practicing psychiatrist. It's definitely tailored to men. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good episode. There's probably issues with it I'm not seeing right now, but I only just listened to it. All too familiar. Not caring and being impulsive, then later having anxiety about what you did. Right. Yeah, the title gets men reeled in. Maybe they feel like podcasts are girly. I don't know. If it ain't Joe Rogan, it ain't for me. Please forget I said that. Never use that soundbite out of context. Ugh, I can't believe how successful that podcast is. It's just so wrong how successful that podcast is. Yep. Ugh. But yeah, so if you want to know more about unlearning ADHD, I would go check out that episode, The Art of Manliness. It was a good episode. Um, and I mean, on the topic of habit formation, that's just a really important thing to know how to do if you have ADHD. It's especially important, right? Having rituals with ADHD is very important. And then you have other things that coincide with that, right? Like if your anxiety is left untreated long enough, you start developing other disorders about it. You might get like a generalized anxiety disorder. Some people have OCD. Oh, thank you for the gifts. You don't have to do that. I appreciate you. One-handed ma. I can't read your whole name. It got cut off. Thank you. You don't have to do that. Thank you though. I really appreciate you. That's very sweet of you. If you really want to help me out, follow my channel on YouTube. I need more subscribers. If you can. If you can't, that's okay. It's not a big deal. But I really appreciate your gifts. That was very sweet of you. Thank you. One-handed mama. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Fine with what I say, then later I go home and replay it over and over. Oh yeah, I've done that. I think we all fall victim to that at one point or another. Yeah, and people can have autism and ADHD at the same time. That's possible. It's not common, but it can happen. So, you know. But if your doctor has assessed you for ADHD and they say you do not have it, there's a chance you don't have it. There's a good chance you don't have it. But then again, there's some discrepancy between what one doctor will tell you and what another doctor will. And if you are somebody who was assigned female at birth, you identify as female, you probably will do better with a female doctor if you can find one. Not physically hyperactive. Yeah, and technically you don't even need to have that hyperactive quality, I don't think, for ADHD. You can still meet other criteria and get that diagnosis. Just talked for a bit. Yeah. And maybe they're not equipped to assess for that. And if that's the case, you might go to them and say, hey, I really do feel kind of strongly about this. Could you put me um, in contact with a resource that can assess me, right, appropriately? Somebody who's trained to do it. And they'll be able to tell you pretty readily whether or not you have it. Sometimes doctors just look at you and they go, nah. But then it's like, hey, if we actually sit down and think about this, like I do this stuff and you can see it. All the symptoms, as they're laid out, I do that, right? It doesn't look like it on the face. But that also comes with people who see like stereotypically ADHD people, right? If all you ever come into contact with is somebody who is so disordered that their life is absolutely unmanageable due to the disorder, you might end up inadvertently getting that stereotype stuck in your head, and then you only believe that that's the kind of person who actually needs help. That's not true. They're just really far along the spectrum, right? Without really assessing. Yeah, that's not a great thing. Sometimes we do that for insurance purposes, but that's not what we want, right? We want an honest assessment. Yeah. Yeah, my parents were the same way. I'm sorry, Nelly. That's really awful. My parents were the same way. They didn't want kind of. My mom was really weird, and I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, very much like wanted to make everything look like everything was perfect all the time. Just her perfect little kids and her perfect little life, and didn't want anybody on the outside to think anything was wrong. And that ended up causing me a lot of turmoil in life. Um, you're trying. Hey, we're all trying. You're doing your best, and that's okay. That's commendable, especially in this day and age when everything sucks. We're all doing our best. Happy to be on that side of the screen. Oh wow, you made it to 30K. Nice. Good job. Yeah, Harm's had a couple videos blow up, but definitely not as many as should. And it's weird how it's only the videos that I don't know, but she's a talented creator. She's wonderful. Um, somebody wants to go live with me. Sorry, pal. Maybe next time. Yeah. Yeah, this app's been weird for us. Definitely, it's not been nice to me. I'm not getting any views on any of my videos. That's kind of why I'm slowly transitioning over to YouTube. Is that TikTok like just fell apart for me at one point and just stopped working. They don't push any of my content anymore, so it's not really a lot of incentive for me to stay. They didn't believe in therapists or taking meds. They believed you could just pray about it. Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't work for a lot of people. Kind of oblivious or delusional. That's kind of how my mom is too. She's always, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. And this is part of why I don't have contact with her anymore. But, all the hardships I've been through, and all she would ever tell me is, well, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. Just know that I'm praying for you. And it's like, yeah, that's a nice sentiment as far as that goes. But I'm still starving to death and have nowhere to live. And also, you abandoned me when I was 16, and you were really narcissistic and made me take care of you and my twin brother when I was a teenager. And I ended up dropping out of high school despite the fact that I was doing pretty well, you know, and then you just abandoned me. Yeah. Pray for me. Thank you. What is up, Kate? How are you? Yeah, it probably is a coping mechanism. Um, thanks, Heather. Thanks for all the gifts. It's very sweet of you, all of you. Um, yeah, there's something to be said too. I try to be careful with this. I dance around it a little, but there is something to be said about people who experience mental illness and have religious experiences. There are plenty of books written about this. Um, and it makes sense that people who are more religious tend to be that way because they need help with something. They just don't know how to get that help. They tend to show up and pray about it. It's like if you didn't need help, you'd have nothing to pray about, right? Like, what do you need to ask for if you don't need anything? We're doing good. We're just kind of bullshitting about ADHD mostly. Um, how are you doing, Kate? It irks me after some time because here's the thing. I don't want to get into religious stuff. I have my own spirituality, my own faith or whatever. I don't want to push my beliefs onto anybody. I don't want anybody to push their beliefs on me. I'm happy to learn about your beliefs. I like learning about people's deities and stuff. I think it's really cool. But the thing that really irks me is this notion that faith without works is dead. That doesn't irk me. I believe in that, right? Like, if you want to have faith in something, you need to take action to make that thing happen. I believe that. And my mom has never, and a lot of people who are like her have never taken action. They are all talk, no action. And because of that, other people suffer. It's like, yeah, well, you're in charge of my life. You are in charge of my life. If I can just get emancipated and leave, I'll go do that and take care of myself. I tried to do that. She wouldn't let me. I once took out the trash, was gone for maybe 5 minutes to walk the trash to the dumpster. And by the time I had gotten inside, she was on the phone with the police because she thought I had run away because of how abusive she was. And I'm like, I never even told her I was going to run away. I never said anything that would even hint that I was running away, except that I just wanted to be emancipated. That's the only, and I had said that like weeks before. But I took the trash out almost every day. This is the thing I did every day. But she just this day she got it in her head. Oh, he's running away. I better call the police. Despite the fact that you still have to wait like a pretty good amount of time for a missing persons report, but it was just so silly, you know. Yeah, parents aren't religious. They're both old hippies. They still see mental health issues as weakness. Ugh, that's not good. Yep. Yes. Ignorance uses any convenient excuse. Well, and it's not unexplainable, right? Like, ignorance is nice, ignorance is bliss, keeps things simple, right? It is horrible. You're right. Um, but, you know, people are scared of things they don't understand, and it's work to try to understand things, right? So if you don't, if you don't understand my mental illness and you don't want to necessarily worry about it because you might make it worse or something else, right? I can see why you try to ignore it or try to convince me I don't have it. Right? They just don't acknowledge it, and then we come up with come to my YouTube, Neuraljack, um, and then we have issues with people using terms like functioning, right? Yeah, yeah. My mom did a lot of really awful things just because she wouldn't recognize that I had problems, and it was pretty obvious that I had problems too. Um, But I remember one time she tried to get me diagnosed with something, and the person I saw just would not diagnose me with anything because he's like, he doesn't have anything. He's like, he is an impulsive kid, and that's likely because of his injury. And also, he's a little boy and very excitable, like most other little boys. Um, and he pays attention at about the same rate as other little boys. He solves puzzles a lot better, right? Because I don't know what it is about my brain, but I'm really good with puzzles. Now I'm starting to find out I might be on the spectrum. I'm not really sure. I may not like qualify for a diagnosis, but I definitely have some neurodivergence going on. And my mom just pushed him and pushed him and pushed him until he gave me a diagnosis, which was borderline personality disorder. And because it's a catch all. But the problem is, like, if you know me and if you've ever met anyone with borderline personality disorder, you kind of know a person who has it because it's very demonstrable, usually. Not always. Sometimes you can have a quiet version, but for the most part, people with BPD are very acknowledgeable, and it was pretty evident that I did not have that. And then I found out later, much later, like literally a couple of years ago. So I'm about to turn 33. Okay. So I found this out a couple of years ago from my big sister that my mom would do that because she was trying to make sure that everybody else knew that there was something wrong with them and not her. Right. So as long as I'm the one with mental illness and my sister is the one with mental illness and my twin brother is the one with mental illness, my stepdad's the one with mental illness, and he did have a lot of things going on. But then it was everybody else's fault that things were not going the way that they should, right? Wow. Yeah. Sorry, I'm probably sharing like way too much information here. I might have to edit this out when I publish the live. I don't know. I don't want to get people's feelings hurt and stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it. But yeah, that's living with a narcissist. And what's weird too is I learned that living with a narcissist will turn you into a narcissist. I was largely narcissistic for a lot of my life. I hope I'm not still. I don't think I am, but I'm always wary like, oh, am I still displaying some of these symptoms? Um, but when somebody is constantly consumed with their own wellness and happiness, and they're constantly manipulating you to make you give them their wellness and happiness, you start to do things to protect yourself from that and end up being similar. Amazes me how many people do this to their families. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot of boomers that do this. A lot of baby boomers do this, right? And there's a lot of reasons why it could be. A lot of them did not have great parents either. And a lot of them were exposed to toxins, heavily exposed to toxins with like lead in their water and air, asbestos everywhere, the lead paint chips and everything, you know. So I don't know. I have no idea why, but they're a rough generation on their kids. But I don't think the generation that came before them were as rough on their children. I'm such a narcissist. Thanks for saying that. I really, I mean, you can't see over here, but Nelly rolled their eyes about me being a narcissist. But I really don't know. And that's kind of the thing is like to stay up on it. You have to constantly ask yourself. I have that trauma, right? I sit with myself all the time. Am I being selfish? Am I being a narcissist? And then I try to do things like be here and teach people and be on YouTube and be on TikTok. And it's like, oh, am I doing this because I'm a narcissist? Well, really, I want to teach people. But like, what if I am a narcissist? And like, that's the whole thing is I'm just lying to people. Am I lying to people? Am I just like, and so I get like stuck in my head about stuff. And it's really stupid. I wish I didn't do that so much. It makes me feel weird about myself. She, her. Okay, good. Sorry, Nelly. I wasn't trying to like assume anything. And I may forget your pronouns too. Please don't get mad if I do. I try to remember everybody's, but I sometimes a lot of it has to do with my TBI. I will do my best to respect everybody's pronouns, but also I can't always remember everybody's names and put them together with their pronouns. Sometimes I forget, so please don't get mad. But I think I generally do a pretty good job of not forgetting. If I ever do, it's certainly not on purpose. Thank you for telling me that, by the way. I appreciate you. I intentionally do things completely different than my mother with my own child. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, I will also do that when Harm and I have kids, hopefully someday soon. I don't want to be the parent that I had growing up. My parents were not great, pretty abusive. If you get called a he, you think you'll get offended. Yeah, guys suck. um, I don't know. I've been called she before, and that's been published. I've been published in journal articles as she. That is not my pronoun at all. But I never bothered to correct it because, like, personally, for me, I don't care what pronouns you use. As long as I know who you're talking to, if I know you're talking to me and you're talking about me, I don't honestly care. You can use he or they, or I guess this person used she, but I knew they were referring to me, so it didn't bother me. I don't have a problem with it. But that's not to say like I won't respect anybody else. If you have a problem with it, then I respect that. Been called a narcissist, but don't feel like I am. I just have to put me first. No one else will. That's true for a lot of people. Maybe not with family, sometimes with family. What I mean, excuse me, what I mean is like maybe not with your own kids, right? You don't always put yourself first with your kids, but like you have to put yourself first in a lot of ways, right? One thing is you cannot give anybody anything that you do not have. So you need to make sure that you have that thing first in order for you to give it to somebody else. In this way, you should be focused on yourself, right? Another thing is when you go to help somebody else, oftentimes we inadvertently, mistakenly um, enable them. And the only way to do this is to not do for other people. Instead, we should lead by example, do for ourselves, and then show it off because other people should see you doing that. And then other people go, well, I want to do that. And so they come and ask you. And when they come to ask you, don't charge them for it. I mean, maybe if that's your business, if that's your work, that's how you live. But like, if not, just tell them how you got it. Help teach them how they can do it for themselves. I've found that to be the best way to help people. Sort of like a teach a man to fish sort of thing. Yeah, I think my Instagram is JackoStack. If you want to pop on there, I don't post very often. I think the last thing I posted probably had something to do with Harm and I getting married, which was like 5 months ago now. Um, Still going strong. On the lighter side, I keep a large stock of toiletries because we always ran out when I was a kid. Good, yeah. And you know what? Extra snacks too. Something I want to do as a parent, something I'm very much looking forward to as a parent is I want to be dad, but I also want to be dad to the neighborhood, right? Like all the kids, I don't care. All the kids come over, play. We'll have barbecues, come hang out in the yard. All the other dads are welcome to come and kick it. And, bring your own beer because I don't drink, but I'll bring root beer. And, and, I want to be that dad where like kids can come over. My kids can bring their friends over. If they're not feeling safe, they can come hang out and feel safe. And if they're having trouble finding food, like I was when I was younger, you don't have to have trouble finding food. Come over. You can have whatever you want. Eat as much till you puke. You know. Hopefully not all junk food. Try to eat something a little better than that. But you can eat junk food too. Watch TV, play video games. Like I want to be that dad who, and I know Harm wants to be that kind of mom too, where if anybody needs help, they can come over and they can feel safe at our house. I very much want that. That's what I aspire to be, a safe person in a safe place. Yeah. 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 Instagram's good for being in touch with people. I think that's one of the only ways I can be in touch with Kate now. Yeah. Snack Dad. Jacko Snacks. Thanks for following me. I'll follow you back when I get to it. Yeah. I can hear Harm downstairs talking with her friends. Yeah. So the chat is quieting down right now. I think we're at the 1.5 hour mark. We usually go for about 3 hours. We might do four. I'm not sure yet. But I'll follow you back when I get to it. I don't ever touch my Instagram, so it might be a while. Um, but yeah, I think I'm going to take a quick restroom break right now and go grab some more water. I'll be right back. Probably be like 2, 3 minutes, maybe tops. It won't be very long. Okay, I'm back. Hello. Hello, hello. Tired time. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Okay. I welcome me to you. I welcome you to me. What were we talking about? ADHD shenanigans? Trauma? I was doing a few videos on um, odd, odd psychiatric disorders, and I did a quick video on TikTok about Kagura delusion. I think I'm going to do a longer version with examples on YouTube here. But let's see. I also did a quick video on hemispatial neglect. That got no views. Nobody seemed to care what that was, despite it being very common. And something I experienced when I was very young. If you don't know what hemispatial neglect is, it is a weird attentional deficit where a person only pays attention to half of their information, whatever's on one half of the face. Usually, it's the left side that they stop paying attention to because it has to do with damage to the right hemisphere. And when I was in my car accident, I've always been an artist. I've been drawing since I was very little. And shortly after my car accident, I would only draw half faces, which is very much a sign of hemispatial neglect. But I sort of grew out of it as I became more aware of it, which I hear is kind of rare because most people who have it usually deny even having it. Let's see. I need to do a video on prosopagnosia, which is that face blindness. People can't put faces together. Looks like we have new evidence for the areas of the brain that are messed up with that too. But of course, we know it has to do with the fusiform facial area. I thought about talking about exploding head syndrome too. That'll be a quick one. Some people, when they're about to fall asleep, they hear an explosion in their head, wakes them up. I've experienced this before. Thought to do with anxiety and lack of sleep, which I have an abundance of both. Aphantasia, where people are unable to mentally imagine things. I have a lot to say about that. Alien hand syndrome, where people's hands like go off and do things without them. They lose control of their hand. It's a very strange one. Oh, I did a video on Cottards too, which is the walking corpse syndrome, where people believe that they're dead or they have lost their soul. Hi, I'm back. Yeah, the exploding head syndrome is not fun. That is gnarly, gnarly, gnarly. Yeah, I've had that. It manifests a lot of different ways. For some people, it sounds like a loud machine, but for me, and it's also really common, it sounds like a gunshot. I hear it like right next to my head, in both ears, bang, really loud. Wakes me up. Yeah, it's not fun. Not fun. This Cottards thing is pretty Cottards delusion, where you believe that you're dead. That one is a really strange phenomenon to me. I think I've experienced that too, and it very much comes with dementia or people who've experienced traumatic brain injury. Gunshot for you. So let me bring this up. So exploding head. Let's see. That's alien hand. I wrote a bunch of stuff about these. Yeah. So exploding head syndrome is a strange type of sleep disorder or parasomnia. So parasomnias are your sleep disorders. Sometimes it's referred to as episodic cranial sensory shock. So people who have this disorder, they hear an explosive noise or sometimes like a crashing sound in their head, either just as they're about to fall asleep, or sometimes they'll hear it as they wake up in the night. And it's very loud. Um, Sometimes people even get like muscle jerks, the like jerk when it happens. Sometimes people see flashes of light inside their head. Um, they're really annoying, but they're not painful. They're super annoying and very alarming. And sometimes they can cause anxiety too, because uh, if you've ever had it happen before, yeah, it is trippy. If you've ever had it happen before, it's super unnerving and it can really give you anxiety waiting for it to happen again. Exploding head is not fun. They're not painful though, and they're also not considered dangerous to overall health. If you go to a doctor and they diagnose you with exploding head syndrome, they're not going to do anything for you because there's nothing to do. But sometimes exploding head syndrome can accompany other serious disorders, but in and of itself, exploding head syndrome is not dangerous. So plenty of people have it without anything prior being wrong. Um, like I said before, it usually has to do with anxiety and lack of sleep. People who have a lack of sleep tend to experience it more often. You think earthquake, yeah, and you fall back asleep. Yeah, and hard part with this is I can't tell what part of it is exploding head syndrome for me, and what part of it is me having PTSD symptoms. Because sometimes weird shit happens in my sleep. Um, there have been a couple of times where I wake up and the whole earth is shaking. It's like an earthquake. Like you're saying, right? You think earthquake and you jerk awake. I feel an earthquake and I can hear the windows rattling and breaking. They'll smash, glass will go everywhere. And I'll be sitting up watching it happen. And then it's like almost like all of a sudden it's just gone and everything's back to normal. And I learned that that very much is a PTSD symptom. So, but sometimes they're tied. I notice that I have them together. Um, Not always, but sometimes. It's very scary. Yeah, so people who have this disorder, oftentimes, bang, it happens and you wake up and you get a lot of anxiety. Like you're saying, you can't fall back to sleep. You have that rapid heartbeat. Sometimes you have trouble breathing. A lot of that has to do with paralysis, right? Um, so it might take you a minute to start breathing again. Um, yeah, and then you might not be able to fall back asleep because you have, yeah, yeah, that one's definitely PTSD. Yeah, I have some weird flashbacks for sure. Ugh, they're not fun. Luckily, they've been very manageable lately. But when Harmony and I were flying all the way across the country back and forth, I was having some very weird symptoms. um, yeah, nobody really knows how common exploding head syndrome is either, but it is thought to be more common in women or um, people who are assigned female at birth, and also people who are over 50. Yes, I imagine that would be the case. Yeah, that sounds very scary. I'm sorry that you went through that. Um, yeah, so I wonder if exploding head syndrome might be PTSD related, at least adjacently, maybe. I'm not sure. Because the only people I've ever met in person that had it typically also had symptoms of PTSD from some event. Yeah, it's very awful. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm glad that you're okay now, or I hope that you're okay now. Hopefully, you found adequate resources to help you get through that. Let's see. Yeah, and then also the frequency can vary. Some people get it every night, right? Some people get it like 3 or 4 times in a night. I've gotten it a couple of times in a night. And then other people may only get it like once or twice, 1 or 2 days in a row, and then they just never get it again. And for me, I don't think I've had it since last year, at least. Maybe even the year before that, actually. It's the last time I got it. Been times when I was really overstimulated throughout the day. As I'm falling asleep, I vividly hear bits and pieces of conversations I heard throughout the day. Yeah, mostly you're a survivor. That is very true. That's super true. Vividly see scenes from the day. That's not uncommon, Nelly. That's actually the purpose of dreaming. We tend to kind of defragment what our brain has experienced the day prior. Um, yeah, and that's all a part of the consolidation process, trying to figure out what's important to remember and store it where it is, where it belongs, and also to get rid of what is not important. Another thing that happens commonly is that people hallucinate right as they're about to fall asleep. They hallucinate hearing sounds. For me, uh, and this is largely thought to be, um, believe it or not, this is actually a very common thing. People do this all the time. But it's thought to be that as you are falling asleep, you're becoming heavily sedated, and your brain needs to keep itself healthy. And so it does so by metabolizing. But in order to metabolize, it has to remain active. So it finds the parts of it that are maybe not as active and it stimulates them to keep them going. And so this is one theory anyway. I think it's a pretty good theory. Uh, so when you are about to fall asleep, generally you're in a very quiet environment. Generally, this isn't true for everybody, but generally you're in a very quiet environment, and so you lack auditory stimulation. And when it gets really quiet like that, your brain starts to play with you, so it'll start throwing things at you. And oftentimes, like you're describing, it's visions or it's auditory hallucinations of what has happened throughout the day. For some people, it's actually just random. For me, I oftentimes hear a little girl talking to her mom in the other room. I'll hear them talking back to each other. And it's never anything important. It's always like, oh, don't forget to put your dish away, like that kind of thing. It's really weird. And it's disjointed from anything too. It's uh like they don't have a conversation back and forth, but I usually hear one talking to the other, right? And it'll just be a quick statement, and I'll be like, "Ah, somebody talking in the other room." Like I live in a house with just my wife. That's it. There's nobody adjacent to us. Okay, so I'm not hearing a neighbor. There's no neighbor. So I've had to learn that. Oh yeah, this really unnerving feeling that you get when you think there's a ghost in your house, when actually it's just your brain kind of playing with you. Yes. Hello again. Yes, extra processing. That is exactly what's happening. I felt bombarded. Bombarded. Yes, I can understand that. The shadow people. Oof. Yeah, if you stay up long enough, you'll definitely catch some of those. Heard your name being yelled? Yep. That is also a symptom of exploding head. Some people they hear their name really loud. Some people hear their name very quietly. Yeah. We are tuned also. Keep in mind the human brain is tuned to catch patterns. And so we are very much tuned to assert ourselves where we hear our name because we assume somebody's calling out to us. Yes, a lot of that has to do with sleep paralysis for sure. So another thing is, let me just read these comments and then I'll address the sleep paralysis. You hear people talking in a restaurant. Yeah, yeah. Did that just start when I moved? No, no. Actually, I haven't really had it that much since I got here. I used to get it a lot actually before I met Harmony. I got it all the time. So sleep paralysis is its own thing. So, like when you're going to fall asleep, your body and your brain undergo this natural process of sleep paralysis. The purpose of this is so that you don't get up in the middle of the night and start walking off. Obviously, some people do not become paralyzed when they fall asleep. We call these sleepwalkers, right? They get up and walk around while they're dreaming. Usually not dangerous, but in some rare cases can be. Um, so when you are sleeping, or falling asleep, I should say, as you're falling asleep, you'll notice that your body stops working. And it's because your brain is producing chemicals that paralyze it. Um, you'll usually notice this right as you're about to fall asleep. However, it has a very sedatory effect. And so you tend not to care that much. Some people care. I don't personally. I notice it and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Well, going to sleep now. I'm tired. Uh, What's more unnerving is when you wake up and you're still paralyzed. That is usually the more unnerving thing. And that tends to happen for most people around 3 a.m. Hence, we call it the witching hour, right? We say that spooky, scary things happen at 3 a.m. But you should take into account two things that are happening. One is you are undergoing sleep paralysis. Two is your brain is most awake at 3 a.m. That is when it is most active, right? Your brain is most active at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. throughout the day, which indicates that we actually have two sleep cycles a day, but humans ignore one of them. So your brain is most active at 3 a.m. So it stands to reason that you might wake up at 3 a.m. while your body is still asleep. And when this happens, people feel like they can't breathe, they can't move, and this is what we call like a nightmare, the typical nightmare. They also tend to hallucinate because they're still dreaming even though they're awake. So your brain undergoes three main stages of sleep, right? um Actually, there's more than that. There's like five, I think, but we'll just talk about two of them. One I'm just going to call deep sleep, and the other one I'm going to call REM, which is your rapid eye movement or your dreaming sleep, right? So we dream when we're in REM. When you fall asleep, generally, most people fall into deep sleep very quickly. And during this period of rest, your body is resting and your brain is resting. You are reproducing all your neurotransmitters, recycling all your neurochemicals, and kind of resetting for the next day. And you go through this period of deep sleep and then you'll come out of it into REM sleep, right? So now you start dreaming. This is the defragmentation process that we were talking about. We're trying to figure out what's important to remember about the day before and how do I consolidate that information? What's not important? How can I get rid of this? Hi, Greedy Vices. It's so rude. I know. They should all come over to my YouTube, Neural Jack. Hi, Bee's Knees. It's good to see you. So, people are going through their deep sleep, and then they come out to REM, they start dreaming, and then they generally go back into deep sleep, and then they'll come back into REM, and then they'll go back into deep sleep and come back into REM. So, one cycle of deep sleep to REM is about 90 minutes. And people do this about 3 or 4 times a night on average. Some people more, some people less, some people not at all. Some people only get deep sleep and never dream. Some people only dream and never get deep sleep. These are the people who are always tired, no matter what. Um, Thanks for the likes. I appreciate you. Hey, hey, instantly mesmerized. Aw, you're so sweet. I really love the people who are part of this community. You guys are awesome. So, something that can happen is while you are undergoing sleep paralysis while you are asleep, you can come into REM sleep and you're dreaming while still paralyzed. And another thing that can happen is you can actually wake up while you're still paralyzed. And the reason why you were thought to still be paralyzed is because you're still dreaming temporarily. And so you wake up, your eyes are open, But the brain, the part of your brain that's active while you're dreaming, that doesn't make a lot of sense and tends to throw monsters at you, is also still active. And so sometimes people see demons sitting on their chest and weird things like that. I've undergone some really strange stuff with sleep paralysis. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's why a lot of people think, oh, there's demons, there's ghosts or whatever. It's usually a sleep paralysis event. Sleep and sleep deprivation is so weird. There's so many strange things that can happen related to it. Yeah. Yep. 3 a.m. now. You're most active. Spooky. Yeah, we must be in tune. Are there things you can do to get more sleep? Well, I think people are kind of the way they are, but something that's been noted is having a regular sleep schedule, not being someone who waits until, odd hours in the night to just fall asleep and crash, but rather someone who maintains a sleep schedule is more likely to get more efficient sleep that way. Because if you're just falling asleep at random times, your body doesn't necessarily know when it's really time to sleep. So you might always stay in REM sleep because your body needs to be ready to wake up in case you need it. Um, Another thing is not eating processed foods before bed or eating anything before bed, really, especially not pork products. I've heard that pork products too quick before bed stop the sleep paralysis thing from happening. And then you have sleepwalking problems. Um, but also, just eating before bed in general. Like if you're going to fall asleep at 10 p.m., you should probably not eat anything after 5 p.m. Um, that tends to raise your blood sugar, which can cause sleep problems. Of course, here I am sitting and drinking my coffee. Let's see. Exercise is really important. Having and maintaining a daily exercise regimen, not too close before bed, right? Usually in the morning is best, but also throughout the day. Don't try to exercise before you try to fall asleep. That will not work out for you very well because you just amped yourself up. Kind of dream of having sleep paralysis. I can't tell if it was actually sleep paralysis. I felt like my conscience was stuck in between dream realm and waking life, and I was trying to get up, but I couldn't. It took more strength. That is exactly sleep paralysis. So, like I said, usually we notice it right as we're about to fall asleep, right? And the moment you notice it and you actively try to move, your brain starts undoing that process. The problem is it takes a while to undo it. So it can be really unnerving while you're sitting there paralyzed, right? But that is exactly what it is consciousness. Yeah. That's exactly what sleep paralysis is. Why do old people go to bed so early and get up early when they didn't in their earlier years? I don't know. I think some of it has to do with their level of activity. I think that older people generally need a lot more rest throughout the day, and so they're not super active. And because of that, they probably need a little less sleep, but they need to physically rest their body throughout the day.
I have a phone charger somewhere because my phone's dead. I don't know what happened to our element.
Hey, can you grab that thing from the table downstairs? Thank you. Um, what was I talking about? Yeah. Another thing is, I think that some older people get stuck in their head that they don't know how much time they have left because the older you get, the more closer to the end you're getting, and you become more aware of that fact. And I think it can be really disturbing for a lot of people, but I think for most elderly people that I've met and talked to, um, they're not generally disturbed by it. They're actually like just kind of ready for it to happen. But in the meantime, they're trying to get as much done as possible, right? So I think they like to spend their hours a little more efficiently too. Yes, please. Oh, sorry, I missed something. Making you excited to go to sleep? Good. Go to bed. But not right now. You're watching me. I'm just kidding. If you need to go to sleep, go to sleep. Um, hang on. Can you talk about nostalgia and why it brings such sadness and despair remembering the exact moment? That time and the feeling at such random times when I'm just in a quiet space. I think I might have missed one of your. I don't know if you had another comment in the middle there, but I might have missed something. Um, is it Gigi Saraki? But nostalgia is a very strange phenomenon. It's not always sad, right? There's actually a very specific term for that sad nostalgia, which
It's a German word.
I can't remember what it is. There's like a German word for it. I think there's a Japanese word for it too. Let me see. Uh, oh, it looks like there's a Brazilian word for it too. Saudade. Deep emotional state of nostalgic or profound melancholic longing for something. Uh, what was the German word? Oh, uh, Schadenfreude. So, I'm actually not sure what causes that. I think that so the thing I'm trying to think about is the nature of how memories spontaneously form. I'm sorry, bees knees. Don't see any other comment in time. Okay. Let me reread this just to make sure. Moment in time and that feeling such random times. Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing is um, I'll talk about why sleep is important in just a second. Um, so the thing about nostalgia is we tend to just remember things at random if we're just like ambiently thinking, right? And so part of this process of our brain metabolizing healthily, I don't know how to say that, just like keeping itself healthy. It's activating areas that are generally inactive or are becoming inactive to keep them going. Another thing is that humans are statisticians, right? And we are very cyclical. We're very patterned. We like pattern behaviors because patterns keep things simple. Okay, so like the less the better I can predict my environment going into the future, the more successful and the safer I feel. Right. I don't want to have to do a lot of effort. I don't want to have to do a lot of work. So I make things cyclical. So another thing that happens because of that is we tend to set up patterns with everything. We set up cycles with everything. And so we have like circadian rhythms, right? When do we go to bed? When do we wake up? We have like a circadian rhythm for hunger, right? Kind of where it's like, oh, when do I feel hungry? When is it time to eat? When is it time to rest and not eat? When is it time to exercise? We have patterns that we set up with other people, right? That's why we spontaneously think, oh, I haven't talked to my brother in a really long time. I should call him. And then we get distracted, forget to call him, but he ends up calling us 10 minutes later. And meanwhile, we're like, wow, that's a speak of the devil. Oh my gosh, who would have thought? Um, but it just so happens that they have the same patterned association with you as you have with them. Right. And so another thing is that I think we have associated patterns with memories. This is evidenced by anniversaries, right? Especially like high emotive anniversaries. Um, so it's not always good anniversaries. In fact, I find a lot of the time it's bad anniversaries, right? Like if there is a fatal car accident and you're in, and you have a loved one who is with you in the car who passes, that's a really traumatic experience. And I'm sorry if that's happened to anybody here. I'm not trying to trigger anybody. I'm just trying to provide an example. But if that happens, right, then the next year, even if you're not aware of the date approaching, you are likely to kind of get antsy around that time. And you may not even know why you're antsy. You're just going like, why do I feel general unrest? Right? The holidays are a lot like this for a lot of people who've experienced hardship during the holidays, right? And they go, why am I feeling so anxious or angsty? You'll especially see this with people in recovery. They tend to feel really angsty right around their sobriety birthday, and it's because you have an anniversary of this really impactful moment. And I think that every once in a while we get these anniversaries of these old memories, and sometimes it's the just the nostalgia. Like with me and my Game Boy, right? I just got my Game Boy Color. It's atomic purple, and I had my bright yellow uh you know um, Pokemon Yellow cartridge in there, and I was like, man, I haven't played this since I was a little kid sitting in the back of the car. I loved it; it was fun, but it kind of gives you that Schadenfreude, right? Schadenfreude. How do I say this? Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. This feeling of sort of melancholy, right? Because you're like, you have to come to terms with the fact that even though it's still dope, it's never going to be that again, right? It's kind of like another feeling that really like resonates with me is that thing. I've seen it all over Facebook and all over the internet for years, but it's like at one point in time, all of you and your friends got together to play Halo or something, right? And you're all sitting at your friend's house who has the Rumble packs on their controllers or whatever. If you're playing on Xbox or I forget, was it 360? It was 360 that had the Rumble packs. I don't remember. But like, everybody has that moment where they were like sitting there playing with all their friends, playing all these video games, right? You're eating all this junk food. Everybody's spending the night at that one kid's house who has all the cool toys. Everybody like brought their books. They're playing D&D and just having a great time. And then it never happens again. And nobody can quite say why it never happens again. It just sort of stops. It's done. Right. And I think that because those patterns are impactful, they still stick with us. Remember when we used to get together and do this thing? And so we relive them briefly, but then we realize, wow, this thing is never going to happen again. And I used to really love this thing, and it's never going to happen again. I think that kind of gives you this sort of melancholy. Aw, thanks for the roses, babe. It's very sweet of you. Sorry, I wasn't reading comments. Sort of. Oh yeah, why is sleeping important? So sleeping is important for a few reasons. One reason is you need to recycle your chemicals and make new chemicals, right? You need to rest your body. Your muscles need to rest. Everything needs to reinvigorate. You need to heal. That's your healing process. If you're still young, you need to grow. That's your growing process. Generally, you heal and you grow while you're sleeping. If you're recovering from illness, if you got hurt somehow, you recover while you sleep. Uh, Another thing is with the dreaming, right? That's your deep sleep. with your dreaming, you undergo a defragmentation process where you're consolidating information. You're taking in information from the prior day, and you're comparing it to information you already have stored, right? And you're reconsolidating. How do I fit this new information in with the old information? And then what about this new information is junk? I don't need this. And what about this new information updated the old information such that this old information is now useless? Throw that out and replace it with this new thing, right? Um, and then another thing is just to keep the brain healthy. It kind of needs to exercise and play with itself. The last thing I'll say is that because we are cyclical and we are predictory mechanisms, that's part of why we've been able to evolve to the extent that we have. We're able to make a prediction about what's going to happen the next day. Sometimes we're very good at this. A lot of times we're very good at it. Sometimes people are so good at it that they are convinced that they've predicted the future and that they have some sort of extra sensory perception, which is kind of true, I guess, but not really. I feel anxious when my birthday is about to come around. You're not alone. That's true for a lot of people. My husband tells me that I get spring fever. I get really energetic, manic, and can be more prone to crazy and impulsive behavior. That's interesting. I wonder if that's kind of related to like seasonal depression. Maybe there's such a thing as seasonal mania. I have no idea. But, if you are somebody who experiences mania, that does tend to be cyclical, especially people who are bipolar. People with bipolar disorder tend to be cyclical. And everybody's cycle is different. Some people cycle every 2 weeks. Some people cycle every 2 hours. Some people they cycle such that their downswing, their depressive state, is like 4 months. And then their upswing, their manic state, is like a week, Sometimes they only have one manic episode their whole life, and then it's just depression and then normal, depression and then normal. They may never have another manic episode. It's always different for everybody. So I feel with my kids, knowing that these times won't be again eventually. I'm glad I realize it now while it's happening instead of later. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Utilize that knowledge, right? Because that's kind of the most important knowledge that you can have, is that this is the best time to acknowledge that this is the best. Don't wait for it to get better. you know Take it now. This is what it is. Live your life. Tend to thaw out in the spring. It's a good way to put it, Arm. Yes, we will go insane if we don't get our processing. That's absolutely true. Waking self is your conscious self, but your subconscious self is constantly going. Sleeping is your brain processing things through your subconscious, not to mention the physical effects. Oh, yeah, so that's another thing. Yeah, like Greedy Vices is saying, another really important factor about sleep is, like Greedy Vices was saying, our subconscious is going at all times, but we are not in direct communication with this thing, right? We are part of our conscious mind, and we're not even always present. When we are present, we do not access our subconscious very well. It takes a great deal of effort, and that's why it's called subconscious. It's below our conscious awareness, right? Um, so, one thing that your brain does is it works on problems without you, and you don't even realize it's working on them, right? Oftentimes, you come up to a problem that you don't have a solution for, and you determine that the only thing you can do is walk away from it. I have no idea what to do with this. I guess it's screwed, whatever. And then you walk away, you forget about it, but your subconscious has not forgotten about it. Your subconscious is mulling over in the back of your head. How can I solve that? How can I fix that? I feel like there's a way to fix that. So your subconscious goes to work on its own without you, and you just live your life. But someday, months, maybe years down the line, maybe only weeks, could be hours. But at some point, your subconscious goes, "Oh, I figured out the answer," and it needs to feed it up to you somehow. A lot of times, your subconscious will feed it up to you during your dream state, right? And a lot of artists, especially musicians, but also painters, a lot of really famous artists utilize this process. And that's why there's a really extensive recorded history of musicians and other artists using opiates to self-induce hypnosis, or like a hypnotic sleep stage, right? Because they're trying to force this creativity out of them, which they could do. But obviously, it's very dangerous and usually leads to their death. You know, that's okay that you were gone. I'm glad you're back. Greedy, you were right on the money. Reoccurring nostalgia of memories from all years of my life would happen every time I am sitting doing work at the office, only when it's quiet. Yeah, yeah, that's like generally the time that we reminisce. Coach Kitty Anderson, thanks for the rose. Sorry I didn't see it till just now. Makes me sad. Those times will never happen again. Exactly like you said. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Yeah, if you feel so inclined, if you want to help out, um, you know, I don't need money from you necessarily, but something that you could do that would really help me out is to head over to YouTube and follow me on my YouTube channel, Neuraljack. I need more followers so that I can eventually monetize, hopefully. I don't have a lot of content up yet. I do plan to have more content up soon, but I'm very busy with work. My job is very demanding. And I would like to make more content, but eventually I need to start paying people to edit my videos and stuff, so that I can produce more content. In order for me to get there, I need to monetize. So if you would like to help but don't really know how, please feel free to come subscribe to my channel. And you're also welcome to come hang out in the chat over here. We've got plenty of people over here too. You are smart, Greedy Vices. YouTube name, Neuraljack, right up here. The people have spoken. Greedy, if you would like to be a mod, or you will perish. No, you will not perish. You'll be fine. Now I feel like it might be dangerous to make Greedy Vices a mod. She just wipes people off the face of the earth. Do you want to be a mod? I'll make you one. You've been here long enough. You've earned it. I tend to thaw out in the spring. Gibbs the power. Okay. I'll do it. If you don't want to be a mod, I can take it away from you. Bam. Bam. All right. You've been bestowed the power. Use it wisely. Till death. Thanks. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But if it does, cheers. Yes, sleeping is important for the brain. I like this model because it's about the right size. It's about the actual size of a human brain. See that? That would fit in my head quite snugly. See? That's where the eyeballs go. Isn't that pretty? It's just so, like, I don't know. Human evolution's weird. It's so compact. It's perfect. Any rules or guidelines you need to know? Yes. We are slow to anger and quick to understanding. And we are, I don't know, you've been here long enough. You know we are. We like people who are inquisitive and kind. Yeah. And maybe don't necessarily block people instantaneously, but if someone's being an asshole, definitely block them. But if it's somebody who just needs correction, maybe take the time to explain it first. And then if they really can't get it, it's like, okay, you're going to get a mute. You know? Word up. I'm not your boss. Don't call me that. Thanks, Dad. I'm not your dad. Yeah, you know how it goes around here. Yeah. Let's see. We are at 2 hours and almost 11 minutes. What's the next topic? Should I just bullshit about more stuff? Let's see. Other things I was going to talk about on YouTube. I should probably talk about PTSD and complex PTSD because I owe that to somebody from a long time ago and I never got to it because it was too complicated to put into a 1 minute video. And then TikTok gave us the ability for 3 minute videos. I still didn't feel I could cover it. Now TikTok's like, hey, you can upload videos up to 10 minutes. So maybe. I'm not your dad. Let's see. Alien hand syndrome is a weird one. I'm kind of excited to talk about that at some point. I'll probably put a TikTok up about it tonight. But I want to talk about it on YouTube. It's very strange. So apparently when you get hit in the right parietal cortex, there's like this region on the right side of in the right hemisphere. It's right between the parietal cortex, which is like roughly like this chunk here, and the temporal lobe right in here. And so it's like, let's see. So your parietal lobe is responsible for most of your processing about your body, like your proprioception, right? Knowing where your body's at in 3-dimensional space in relation to itself. And also, it's really important for understanding where other things are at in relation to itself. And then your temporal lobe is really important for auditory processing, but also it's really important for identification of objects. And there's this weird spot right in between the two where if you get damage to that, I chopped my brain in half. If you get damage to that region, right, you can have this really strange thing occur that I don't know if I was doing this on TikTok. I don't know if you saw it over here, but this region right between the parietal to the temporal lobe, you can have this really strange thing occur where your arm or potentially your leg or something else, one of your body parts on the left side, generally, not always, but generally, starts acting of its own volition, kind of. It sort of seems like it's being controlled by somebody else, and you lose the ability to control it. On very rare circumstance, this can happen due to stroke, although where the stroke occurs in the brain is generally different than that location, but downstream does affect that location. And so you don't look like you know anything about the brain, but based on nothing but your appearance. Lol. Hey, that's not the first time I heard that. In fact, I heard that all the way through undergrad. Yeah, and I even heard that in graduate school. I remember somebody saying, "You're a what? A neuroscientist? You don't look like a neuroscientist." Okay, well, what do we look like then? That's an honest question for you. What should I look like? Generally, most neuroscientists I see show up in shorts and a flannel. Like if you go to a conference and you see all these dudes in suits and lab coats, all the neuroscientists show up in like their casual clothes, not tatted up. I know quite a few of us. We're pretty tatted up, but yeah, okay, maybe. There's some are, some are not. There's definitely a lot of the older folks are not tatted up, for sure. Maybe I should look like a cool, chill dude. Too bad, can't do it. Scientists are usually pretty laid back. Am I not? Oh man, you're giving me a complex over here. Fuck. All right, I'm gonna ignore you guys. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, alien hand syndrome. So, yeah. Oh, what part of the brain is developed first? That's a good question. I'll get to that next. So, with alien hand syndrome, you are you have this problem where your body recognizes this arm, right? We'll say it's an arm for the sake of convenience, right? Alien hand syndrome. Uh, it recognizes that it should be doing something, but because it's not getting any feedback, so it's a problem with your sensory information, right? It's not getting any feedback with the external environment. And so your brain can't see where it's at in three-dimensional space, right? Like the fact that I'm able to close my eyes and touch my nose, touch my fingers together, touch my nose, touch my fingers together with my eyes closed, it's because I have proprioception, right? So hopefully my cerebellum and my parietal cortex are working pretty well. But in this case, your brain actually is not able to receive that appropriate feedback. And so that arm just goes off and does its own thing by itself. It'll grab things, grope people, slap things, push stuff off of shelves. And it's very annoying. And for some people, it might be permanent, right? For some people, it's not. Like one person I know about had a stroke and it lasted for about 30 minutes, but their hand was just like caressing their face and patting it. And she freaked out. She goes, and so she had a stroke. She went to the hospital. Her husband drove her to the hospital. I think she was like in her 70s or early 70s. Her husband walked her to the car and he said she was also dragging her left foot. So it was affecting her whole left side of her body, but primarily it was the left hand that went off on its own. And it did so for about a half an hour, and then she regained control of it, but she said that it felt numb and really weak. She couldn't hardly use the muscles. So this is pretty common for people who do recover from it, but some people don't recover from it. It is permanent. And they've generally found that the only thing that really helps is to just give the hand something to do. So some people will like have a stress ball or something to just grasp, and the hand will sit there and hold it. Sometimes they say that like slapping it will help. At least get it to pay attention for a second. I don't know. It's a pretty strange thing. Younger ones are definitely tatted. In support of me. Oh, okay. Okay, good. Doesn't always sound like that. Aw, thanks for Panda. I like that panda. He's cool. Maybe I should look like a chill dude. Since you hurt your right shoulder, you now have a random twitch feeling in your bottom right eyelid. That's really strange. We are wired up pretty oddly, though. Sometimes we have stuff like that. Like, I know I have this spot in my ear. If I itch it, it causes a lot of pain in the left side of my neck. No idea why. It was a perfect typo for sure. From heavy lifting. Sounds like you messed up your back rotator cuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Okay, I look like Snoop Dogg. I can't. I can't do this. Why would you say that? Dan H bites. I I don't look like Snoop Dogg. Not there's nothing wrong with that. Dude's a good-looking dude. He's very successful. That's awesome. What a compliment. But like that's like the fifth time someone said that to me and I don't understand it. Why does everybody say that to me? Everybody says I look like Snoop Dogg. I feel that nothing about me looks like Snoop Dogg. Why does this keep coming up? My beard makes me look like him. Maybe my eyes. Do I look really high all the time? Because let me tell you something about Snoop Dogg. He looks high all the time. History teacher vibes. Yeah, they are pretty cool. Well, sometimes. I had a history teacher that was a douchebag. I did not like that guy. I don't look high. Okay, good. Jeez. You see it? Kate Jude over here. Kate Gephardt says that they see it. I'm white, Snoop Dogg. That's funny. Jim, my old roommate, said that same thing to me. He brought me a bottle of wine with Snoop Dogg's face on it. And he was like, "Look, it's you." Thanks for the calf. Oh man. Did it even go on? Did I miss it? Might have went on while I was looking away. This is the oddest thing ever to keep reoccurring. I don't understand this. Can somebody tag Snoop Dogg in one of my videos and just ask him like what the fuck is going on? Now you see it? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's no way. I'm looking at myself right here. I'm going to pull up a photo of Snoop Dogg. There's just no way. I grew up listening to this guy's music, and I've seen his face a million times. Him and his fucking pimping outfit over here at the Super Bowl. That was pretty dope, that halftime show. Yeah, maybe like the lower half of my face kind of looks like his, I guess, a little bit. Like the lips and the jaw, if I were black, maybe would look a little bit like Snoop Dogg's. My jawline is definitely a lot like his, I think. Maybe a little bit in the cheeks too. But like our nose is way different. And I feel like our eyes are way different. We both have pretty prominent brows, but I feel like his brows are a little more prominent. I might be wrong. Maybe. I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch, though. That's a hard stretch to say that. Just a smidge. Okay. So, like, it's been confirmed now by like 5 people in this chat, in this chat, in TikTok also. I have to make a TikTok about that. I don't think I do have to make that TikTok. I feel like that's a weird TikTok to make, and that could be bad. I don't know. I don't know. What would I say? Hey, why do people keep calling me Snoop Dogg? That guy is like infinitely richer than I am too. I would take the fame. I would take the money. Oh, answer mom's. What did mom ask? Oh, hang on. Is there a way we can help ourselves to not have bad dreams, or at least as often? Oh, yeah. Let me think about this. I've got some weird advice for you, and I don't know if you want to take it, but it's the only advice I have on this subject. As somebody with severe PTSD, like very complex PTSD, very severe, very complex. I have really bad, vivid nightmares, like horrible nightmares. I have bad dreams all the time. I basically have bad dreams every night. The only time I've ever gotten my bad dreams to stop, and this kind of stopped working because I became desensitized to it. But the only time I could get that to stop working is if I watched scary stuff as I fell asleep. If I watched scary things before I fell asleep, generally I would have good dreams, weirdly enough. So I think this has something to do with like, it makes me think of Dr. Viktor Frankl, his logotherapy, right? Where if you're having trouble doing something, you should do the opposite. I feel like sometimes the brain just works that way. Sometimes you just have to do the opposite, you know? Um, so it's like, yeah, if I'm having scary dreams and I'm trying to get it to stop, but I can't get it to stop by actively trying to get it to stop, maybe I should try to induce it, right? And then when I try to induce it, I actively can't. That actually has worked for me quite well. And I know it works for a number of other people too. I'm not the only one that works for. Maybe try it if you're having trouble with bad dreams. The other thing is you will have less dreams if you need more deep sleep. So lots of exercise throughout the day. Make yourself really tired. You will dream less because your body will need that deep sleep. Yeah. Um, but we have to remember that one of the purposes of dreaming is to try to predict outcomes, right? So your brain is sort of training itself. What am I going to do in this scenario? What am I going to do in that scenario? And oftentimes your brain isn't really concerned with what am I going to do in a scenario where I have $1 million and everything's made out of chocolate. Usually, because that's just not going to happen. Usually your brain's like, what do I do if I'm ever in this kind of a car accident? What do I ever do if this person dies? Right? So, oftentimes people have bad dreams for a good reason. It's to kind of run us through um, this sort of like prediction mechanism. Like, how do I deal with these issues? See my face morphing into Snoop Dogg? Gosh dang it, people. Yeah, watch Forensic Files before bed for sure. That's what helps harm. Your brain is processing scary stuff while doing that. Yeah, almost sort of satiating it, right? Like, okay, brain, fine, do the thing, but then leave me alone. Dream decisions are horrible. Generally, mine are too. For instance, I always get in a car despite the fact that the brakes never work. Or the throttle is stuck open on my motorcycle and I can't get it to stop. Yeah, I think that's generally true for most people. I don't think a lot of people have good dreams. I think people have good dreams on occasion. It happens a lot, but I think bad dreams are more frequent than good dreams. Always making terrible decisions. It's not fair. Uh, don't worry, I don't think Snoop Dogg is what most people think when they see you. You didn't. Okay, yeah. No, that's fine. I think it's such an odd thing that it keeps reoccurring. Like over the past like 2, 3 years, not just on TikTok, in real life, there are people who walk up to me and tell me I look like Snoop Dogg. I don't look like Snoop Dogg. He's a handsome fella, lots of money. He's very successful, but no. The flying dreams are most excellent. I do love those. Oh, that's another thing. Another thing you can do to get rid of your bad dreams is become a lucid dreamer. So you can do this usually by keeping a dream journal and by meditation and practice. It takes a lot of effort, but once you start doing it, you get really good at it. Like now, I almost always know that I'm dreaming when I'm sleeping. I almost always am aware that I'm dreaming. And so that gives me a variable degree of control over my dreams. Usually a pretty good degree, but like one thing I've mentioned on here quite a few times is that my favorite thing to do when I'm lucid dreaming is go out into the ocean and then I fly way up into the sky and I just drop. And I'll let myself splash into the ocean. And I'll fly way up into the sky and then I just drop. And I just play with myself that way. Just like off into the sky, back into the ocean, off in the sky, back in the ocean. It's fun for me. I like it. I think it's a great time by everybody involved, which is me. Yeah. Put his face up on the green screen. Let's see the comparison. Maybe I'll do that in a TikTok video. Such a weird thing. What the fuck, man? I'm gonna have to put it up at some point. Shark. Yeah, oddly enough, sharks are never in my dreams. You'd think they'd be in a lot more. Sometimes I do have those ominous underwater dreams, which are probably the worst kind of dreams. I I hate underwater scenery, especially dark, murky underwater scenery where you can't like see anything. If I'm dreaming, I like the water to be like crystal clear, and also I can breathe it, so it's fine. Well, you're welcome to bring me with you. I don't think I can see anything happening on your end. Or you can come back. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to make this video. I'm gonna have to make some kind of video and just be like, hey, I need a vote. Who the heck thinks I think like I look like Snoop Dogg? Do you want to see what's coming? Yeah, I do. I want to be able to dodge it or punch it in the face. Fun fact, if you're ever being attacked by a shark, sock it right in the nostril or right in the eyeball. Gouge its eye, it'll leave you alone if you can. Okay, you come back when you're ready. You don't? You want to just like float off in the ominous dark and let things just be lurking? Ugh. Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. Like, I love swimming and I'll go swim in a river. I will. I like swimming in rivers, but I cannot think about what's beneath me. I gotta like try not to pay attention to that aspect of things. It freaks me out too much. You know what I want to know? I need to look this up. I need to look this up, but I want to know why we like scaring ourselves so much. What is it about the brain that enjoys scaring itself? Whether we're like having a dream or like you're one of those spooky ghost hunters who like to like go to these creepy mansions at like 3, 4 in the morning with your whole camera crew and you hear the tiniest little like shuffling. It's probably like a mouse, but everybody like freaks out because they're like, oh, ghosts. And then you listen to the audio feedback and it's like, grandpa talking in the night, but it's not actually. It's just like, I don't know, whatever, old pipes or something. Why do people like doing that? Love the ocean, but not the creepy stuff. I used to windsurf, fell off, and could only see myself landing on a dead, bloated body. Ew, gross. It's very creepy. The unknown factor that brings us back to it. Yeah, yeah. That's like thinking about space for me. Something I've never dreamt about, but I think I would really enjoy the experience is getting lost in space. You know what? I do dream about that sometimes. Sometimes I dream that I've been abducted by aliens. Sometimes I dream that I'm like on their ship. I've had dreams like that. That's been real weird, creepy, kind of fun. I like stuff like that. It's super weird. Yeah. Aliens. When are we ready to admit to ourselves that aliens exist? Or am I opening a can of worms I shouldn't open? And they rule our government. And also they're ancient and racist. I don't know. Ever had a dream about space? I thought I didn't have a dream about space, but then I thought about it for a minute and I was like, you know what? I haven't had one in a long time, but I've had them. I usually have dreams about spaceships. Ooh, I get really insane, really cool dreams about like futuristic worlds. I get really cool dreams about like crazy technology, like new transport systems and all sorts of stuff. But usually there's a component in there about something breaking or malfunctioning and then crashes. And it's usually near me or I'm in it or I'm a part of it somehow. When we find a Bigfoot carcass, ah man, we already know Bigfoot's real. He's kicking it up in Oregon and Washington. Everybody knows that. He's probably with his Bigfoot family, his little Bigfoot, his little Bigfoot son. What do we call him? Littlefoot? That seems too on the nose. What do we call Bigfoot's kid? Tim? I don't know. 100% pro alien? Dope. Me too. Yeah. I mean, we already know they exist. It's just to what level of intelligence do they exist? Are we just talking about single-celled organisms? Those definitely exist. Anything smarter? Like a dog? That would be cool. Space dog, you know. Little Bigfoot. Womb dreams. You used to have one repetitively. I've never met a person who had a womb dream. I have heard of people having them, and there's definitely a lot of like psychological rhetoric around that. I've never actually met somebody that had a womb dream. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, futuristic world dreams are probably my favorite. They are my favorite ones for sure. Um, yeah, super cool stuff. Well, like my brain thinks up some technology, okay? I'm always after it. I'm like, what's the next thing I can make? What's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing to create? How can I make more things for people? So I think my brain likes to play with me like that. Littlefoot, it's too on the nose. We got to call him like Jerry or Craig. I don't know. Little baby Bigfoots. What do you call baby big feets? Wookiees? I don't know. Anyway, they're kicking it in Oregon and Washington. Pretty sure. Maybe California. I don't know. There was this geology instructor I knew in Oregon who was on the news every once in a while, and he just like swore up and down Bigfoot was real and that there was evidence for it, even though nobody's ever like really photographed it. Like, at least not in a clear sense. In a dark black nothingness and a large, like, enormously large ball thing and a boom boom sound, I pushed my hand into it. It was an odd sensation. Weird. That's super creepy. That makes me think of Michael Crichton's book, The Sphere. You ever read that? That was a good book. It was super creepy. 99% you getting chased. That, yeah, you got to turn around and confront it. Fight it, kill it, do whatever you got to do. It'll give you a reward. Train yourself. Kill it. Cliffs are usually involved. Oh no. Yeah, and you can't run away. Sonoma, Washington. Oh, Snohomish. Yeah. Washington. The highest number of Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings. There's definitely a lot of weird stuff going on over there for sure. Yeah. I've seen my fair share of weird stuff in Alaska too, and in Oregon. They got witches there. They got witches up here too, I think. Random rage dreams every once in a while. I am not an angry person though. You know, I get those too sometimes, and I always wake up super remorseful, and I'm not sure why. I'm not a violent person. Anybody who knows me knows like I don't like conflict. I don't like fight. Any conflict I'll face head on, but I don't like fighting because I think it's childish. I will fight if I have to, and I have, but I will do everything I can to avoid it, right? If we're going to be in conflict, we're going to talk it out. And if you really won't listen to reason, then we'll fight. That's the only case where I'll fight. But I've had dreams where like somebody was really bothering me, like bothering the f out of me, and I usually don't know who they are, and they won't leave me alone. And then we get into like a really brutal fight, and it ends really sadly. And then I wake up and I just feel remorse. I just feel so sad. And even though it never happened and it wasn't real, and I sort of wake up with this relief that it wasn't real, the feeling of it is still very much sits there with me. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then sometimes it is somebody I know. Like sometimes I would dream about hurting my twin brother, and then I would feel really sad when I woke up. I'd be like, man, I can't believe even in my dreams that I would do such a thing. The worst is when I wake up and realize I had obviously been crying in my dreams, but not remembering what happened in the dream. Yeah, yeah. I usually wake up with headaches that way. Yeah. Don't always remember. But if you're having a hard time remembering your dreams, you should definitely practice keeping a dream journal. That will get you to start remembering your dreams really well. Thanks for all the likes, by the way. How did we get to almost 2,000 likes? Jeez. Last dream I had, where I was kind of fighting, I was in a new school and some kids were bothering me during exams. Yeah. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. Were you ever like, I don't know, you don't have to answer this, but I wonder if you were ever bullied in school. Because I was bullied in school a lot and I had a lot of dreams like that. Yeah. Until I finally learned to stick up for myself and then took it too far. I don't like hurting people. I think hurting people's bad. Sadly, have to get going. Thank you for the best laugh I've had in a long time. See you soon. Oh, geez. Thanks, Kate. I'm glad you were here. Thanks for being a part of our community. I appreciate you. I'm gonna have to make a weird TikTok about it. It doesn't matter though. Nobody's gonna see it. My TikToks get like 100 views lately. I don't know why, but TikTok just hates me right now. Doesn't feel fair. But whatever. I'll make something stupid, and everybody will have a good time. Thanks for joining us, Kate. All the cool people got bullied in high school. That's true. You were bullied. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, I got bullied a lot too. Not so much in high school. I got bullied in elementary school. And then I moved to another school and then I sort of lifted weights and toughened up. And then I went back to my old school where people thought they were going to bully me again. And one kid tried to. And I'm not going to say what happened because I don't want to get kicked out by TikTok again. But yeah, people stopped messing with me, and that was a good thing. Since then, I've only ever been in a handful of fights. Luckily, not very often. Yeah, never lost a fight though. Also, never started a fight either. I don't like that. I'm very much of the sentiment you should not go looking for trouble. Yeah, but I was kind of a prick when I was a kid. Your laptop died? Oh no. Well, you can't charge it because we're not allowed to use electronics in this house anymore. Our electricity bill is like skyrocketed. 5 years, but I dropped out in the beginning of the fourth year. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't stand for that either. It's not healthy. It's very toxic. Had a premonition dream recently, and a recurring dream theme revealed its meaning. We're Amish now? Yeah, probably. I want to know more about your premonition dream. You said, and a recurring dream theme revealed its meaning. What was the theme? I want to know more about your dream. Tell me more. Also, if anybody's not following me on YouTube and you would like to contribute, please subscribe to my channel. I need more subscribers. You'd be really helping me out. I would appreciate it. Also, I am live on YouTube. You can come be part of this chat over here too. Although it looks like we're kind of slowing down over here. A dark, enclosed, cold, twisting staircase. Ooh, I get those dreams all the time. And it's a mix, honestly, as to whether I'll like them or not. Sometimes they're horrible. Sometimes I'm being chased by somebody. But what I really like about those dreams, oftentimes I'm still being chased by somebody, but I can like reach into the wall and just like open a door and just pass through that door and shut it and just move through this intricate tunnel system. I love doing that in my dreams. Just like tunnels and tunnels and tunnels, more tunnels. I want to know what the heck's wrong with my brain that it does all this weird shit. It just does all this insane stuff that I don't hear other people talk about. I want to know more about it. Yes, the more subs I get, the more content I can make, and eventually, hopefully, monetize so that I can pay other people to help me with making my content, which would be really nice. I'm very appreciative if you can help me with that. Too much of a bad bitch to get bullied now. Good. Yeah. In a dream, for the first time ever, my dad was in it. I was trying to show him or him show you. Okay. And some bad family news was shared. Oof. Period. Sorry about your dream. It's very strange. Premonition dream. It's hard to say. Uh, we have premonitions, right? Or premonitious like visions. Some I think those are common in people who are assigned female at birth. There's definitely something to be said for the predictory mechanisms, especially of moms. Moms are somehow able to know some shit for sure. Or it always seems that way. I would like to see some data on that, but that's just such a hard thing to try to design a study for. But oftentimes, even when they're pregnant, they know when they're going to have the kid. Like, yeah, everybody can guesstimate, but like, I've seen happen a lot of times is the woman who's pregnant they have a dream that they give birth the night before they give birth. That maybe is like a less surprising one, but there's definitely other things. Can someone make me get food and take my vitamins so I can go to sleep? Greedy Vices. I cannot make you food, but I will try to make you go get food. Go get it. And take your vitamins so that you can go to sleep. If you don't, then I'll have to remove you as a mod because you're not working to take care of your health. You get to be one of my mods as a reward for being good to yourself. So please be good to yourself. Yes, mama bear instincts are for sure a thing. Yeah, the whole lifting a car. That's true. Humans can do that kind of shit. We just can't do it for very long. And humans that do or are able to do that for very long usually die from stress pretty early. Uh, this is evidenced by people who go on really long meth binges. Yeah. Yes, good. Good, Greedy Vices. Go. Proud of you. Much love. Yes, we all need to be taking care of ourselves, being good, active members of our community to whatever extent that we can be. Let's see, we're at 2 hours and almost 50 minutes. We got like another minute to go. Let's see. Generally, these run about 3 hours. So I think maybe in 10 minutes, I'm probably going to call it a night, unless we get talking on something crazy. Harmony, you are a menace to society every day, and we appreciate you and love you for it. Don't ever change. Watch something scary before bed, like more romantic stuff. Should that be my last 10 minutes talking about trash TV? We've been watching this like really terrible Netflix show. Yes. We've been watching this terrible Netflix show called Love is Blind. And it's about these couples that they, so it's like a bunch of people, a bunch of men and women that meet up and they talk to each other through a glass wall and they can't see each other at all. It's opaque. And they get to know each other. And then eventually, some of them can propose to others if they want to get married. And so they'll get married without ever having seen each other up until the point where, they've proposed. And then afterward, they spend, some time together. They get married. Then they go on a honeymoon. And the show just like follows them through the whole process. It is a lot of drama, way toxic. Harmony and I have a ton of fun trying to psychoanalyze the people in this show. Or I guess that's what I'm doing. I don't know. Harm's just having a good time. She tells me to knock it off. I keep telling her people are on cocaine. But it's a good show. It's not a good show. It's terrible TV, but we're having a lot of fun watching it. It's really silly. And it hits you in the feels sometimes. Sometimes you're like, man, that person was really cool. That other person shouldn't have been so shitty. Yeah, mostly just me. Yeah. You try to refrain, not me. I'm full force, man. What's the divorce rate on that show? It's higher than the marriage rate somehow. It's pretty bad. Um, Actually, I don't even know if actually no, I don't even know if the divorce rate's that high. The most people won't get married. Like at the altar, they can choose not to get married, right? And a lot of people just don't. There's a lot of drama though, for sure. My 16-year-old got me to watch Death Note anime. Yeah, Death Note's a fun one. That anime is some red flags for sure. Like people who are really into it are you gotta like kind of watch out a little bit. Yeah. Um, Death Note is interesting, but it's very much like the how do I put this? I mean, I had the whole book series. I did, and I sold them before I moved here. I was sad. I had the black series, the black edition. Um, it's sort of like a daydream of a teenager who is maybe like a horrifying narcissist. You know, it's almost like if you just gave a narcissistic teenager infinite power and let them run riot, that's what that show is to me. That's what it feels like to me. Um, but if you can not identify with the main character of that series, then it's pretty enjoyable. I think if you do identify with the main character of that series, that's a red flag. There are issues being had. He wants to be a god. Hopefully, not your 16-year-old. He might need therapy. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to disparage anybody. But yeah, that anime is definitely like over the top for sure. I was about that age when I was reading. I was about that age when I was reading Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, which was another crazy one. That's Jonan Vasquez. For anybody who doesn't know, he created Invader Zim. But before Invader Zim existed, there was this really horrifying comic book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And when I was like 14, I loved that comic book. And it is a terrible comic book. My parents should not have let me read that. But my parents didn't care about me. You should worry. Uh-oh. Maybe just have a little talk with him. you know, just let him know some things are a little bit iffy. Yeah, people usually break up before they get married on that show, if anything. We've seen two couples get married and they stayed together, so hopefully. But honestly, they were really I don't know. One of them was pretty toxic, like the whole show through. So it's kind of like, how did they end up together? Like, but it's entertaining. What was really good is watching the reunion at the end because then they all got to see all the shady stuff they were doing behind each other's backs. So good. Mwah. Terrible crap TV. They did go to therapy. That's true. That should say a lot. It should, but does it? All right, we're at our 5 minute mark. Give me something good to talk about, or I'm ditching all of you. So I can go watch bad TV with my wife. I drink a lot of water. I drink like 3 bottles just sitting here and a cup of coffee. It's a good ratio, I think. Yeah, I don't know if you should worry about your kid. I think, like, I don't know, some kids that are 16, they're into that kind of stuff. I was. Maybe my mom should have been worried about me, but I don't know. Good. I'm glad you're getting food. Proud of you. What are you having? Also, what time is it now? Um, yeah, I think like I think as long as your teenager has friends and they're hanging out at their friends' houses and doing like regular stuff. What's up, Eric? Um, it's not really usually a sign for concern. I think if your kid is kind of a loner and doesn't really like other people, then maybe you want to start worrying a little bit. But even then, some people just like their alone time, and that's okay. I mean, it's perfectly healthy to have alone time. All super great human beings. Good. Yeah, I figured. I kind of figured that to be the case. You seem like the kind of person who would have some well rounded kids. But yeah, good. Get out of here. Go do some fun things. I hope you have a good night. Bad company. What if he's the bad company? Mm-hmm. Rarely suspected. So she's alone a lot. Oh, that's rough. Sorry to hear that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe she can find a support group. Other people like her. Be good to get her into contact with like-minded individuals so that people who've already gone through it or are also going through it. That way she has people she can find camaraderie in, right? That's something really important for development and something that I did not get a lot of. And I'll tell you that that negatively impacted me a lot as a kid, is to not have other people like me. you know I had a few people like me. There were a couple weirdos out there for sure. I do remember you from TikTok. and now Facebook. We're friends on Facebook too. Way better than TikTok. I can type about 600 times faster. Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm actually about to kick off here. We've been at this for almost 3 hours. I'm going to kick off in a couple of minutes. If you have any last minute questions or you want to talk about anything, let me know. How's the move going? Have you fully moved? Are you still unpacking boxes? What's going on? Don't overdo it with the water. You're very sleepy. Don't go to bed. We're going to watch some bad TV. Wants to be stealth. That's okay. Totally. Yeah. Um, so you're her bud. That's good. I'm really proud of you for being there, bud. I do want to make a quick comment, and I'm not going to comment anything beyond this. But I will say that if they're not ready to be out, I would maybe refrain from talking about it with other people until they are ready. And then not without their permission. That's the only thing I'll say about that. And I'm not going to ever talk about it. I'm not going to give you any advice. I'm not going to tell you you should do this or that. I totally respect you as a parent. I think you're doing a great job. That's the only comment I wanted to make. And I hope that that's okay. Hopefully, I didn't overstep any boundaries. But thank you for being a really awesome individual for that person. And I'm really proud of you for being there, stepping up and being there for that person who needs you. Unpacking like insane people. Just went to YouTube just now to test the sound on your PC. Its final location. I did see your image on Facebook about your workstation, which looks pretty dope. A little cluttered, pretty dope. So I'll have to check out your YouTube and see how it looks. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. In that case, you're awesome. And thanks for being awesome. And I'm very proud of you. And also, I can't wait to see you next time. Uh, as you were washing your hands, spooky. Good. Good. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being part of this live. I appreciate you. Yep, everybody is now 3 hours and almost 2 minutes. So I think it's time to end it. Everybody on TikTok, I love you all. I appreciate you. Thanks for being part of my community. Everybody here who is on YouTube, thank you so much. For those of you on TikTok, if you are not following me on Neuraljack on YouTube, please do so. It would mean the world to me. I'm trying to get more subscribers so that I can eventually monetize and make more videos. That would really help me out. But if not, that's okay. You're still welcome to hang out with me here too. Thanks again for another awesome Friday Night Live. Thank you for being here. Yeah, everybody here. Thank you so much. You are a good human. Sandwiches for breakfast is a good idea. Proud of you. Okay, friends, it's time. Eric, I will have to check out your YouTube. Sorry we didn't catch you until it was a little bit too late, but hopefully you'll be around for the next one. I'm glad that you're moved. Hopefully the transition and the unpacking goes well, despite it being hectic, I'm sure. And yeah, I look forward to talking to everybody again soon. Yes, you too. All right. Good night, friends.